Thank you, and good evening, everybody. I want to thank Pierre and Jesse for their very gracious remarks and their support. I'm also looking forward to thanking John Tory personally when he comes later this evening for his very kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, neighbors, the 2010 election campaign is underway. I am running to be re-elected councillor in Ward 5, and I thank you for your support. To those of you who have supported me for many years, I'm very grateful to you for your continued trust in me. I want to especially introduce my wife Rose and my new daughter Ariana, that I love both of you so much, and I can tell you that I first got elected, I was a bachelor. I never quite understood when people said, oh, you know, we're looking for a family man to represent us. Everything I do now has so much more meaning than I know that it's for my wife and my child and for your families as well. I want to thank the volunteers that are helping out this evening and just remind them it's only the beginning of the campaign, so there's a lot more to do. And I also want to take a moment to thank my City Hall office staff, Eileen and Kathy, and especially my executive assistant, Susan O'Connor, for all the work they do throughout the years to make me look good and to serve you. Thank you. So what is the job of a city councillor? Fundamentally, it's about being connected to one's community. Well, I was born and raised in Etobicoke, so my link to this neighborhood and to many of you is a bond that can be unbroken. I am a local boy. It's about being committed to listening to all the various issues that are facing our community. And that means listening to everyone, big or small issue, whether it's a legitimate complaint, and sometimes they're not, but trying to find a way to help people. And that's part of being accessible, but always being there, whether it's meeting with residents on a street corner or a business person in their front window, or in a hall like this over a big development meeting that perhaps is a bit controversial, or reading the thousands of emails that I get every year and responding to them personally. All of these shared experiences that I have with you, and when we care for each other, that's what builds our community. But being a councillor is also about being dedicated. Dedicated means dedicated to finding solutions, not just to attending meetings. Finding creative ways to solve problems, and thinking outside the box. And it's certainly about being accountable. Accountable to how I conduct myself, how I spend money, and how I oversee your money being spent. And also to make sure that the services that we promise to you are actually delivered. Very importantly, it's about being outspoken. Too many of my colleagues last year during the municipal strike chose not to go to City Hall. They wouldn't cross the picket line. Well, for me, and for those of my colleagues, mainly from the Responsible Government Group, it was our duty to be at City Hall. It's who runs the city. Who has to demonstrate that somebody's still in charge? Somebody is still trying to provide services to you. It's about speaking truth to power, whether it's the mayor or a union leader or the premier. When something's wrong, you have to speak up and say you think it's wrong and offer a solution. These are the principles that guide me, and this is part of what I believe are our shared values. Now I have to interrupt my speech here for a second, because sometimes I'm a lousy politician, and I forgot something very important. I was supposed to recognize my colleagues from council who were here, and I forgot. And I have a tendency of doing that, and they think I do that on purpose, which I don't. So I just I wanted to point out that Deputy Mayor Joe Pantaloni was here with us earlier this evening, as was Councillor Francis Nunziata and Councillor Mark Grimes, and our MPP Laurel Broughton and Rocco Rossi and George Smitherman passed along their regrets. They wanted to be here, and former Councillor Chris Kaczynski is here. So now I threw off the speech, but that's okay. It's about being adaptable as well. That's one of the things the councillor has to do. So, councillor also has to be prepared to come up with smart solutions, finding ways to increase the productivity of what we do as a city, of finding smarter ways to manage our resources and providing better services. And as the champion on council of our new 311 service, what we did is we took 120 city staff that worked in all kinds of cubby holes throughout the city, answering phones, maybe just answering questions about a pothole or a garbage can. We retrained them. We gave them the technology and the facilities that they needed to do a better job. And for the same amount of money and the same number of staff, you now have access to City Hall 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's a smart solution. And there's much more of that we can do. It's about being incisive, which means finding where problems are hidden within our bureaucracy, finding the savings, challenging the policies that don't work, and finding new policy directions that need to be found. And most importantly, it's about being visionary. That's about finding ways to help move our city ahead, transform it. For much of the last 10 years, I've worked diligently to transform the Etobicoke City Centre. 16 acres of city-owned land, for the most part sitting vacant, not generating any value, any jobs, or even any taxes, to transform that, to take that 6 points interchange, turn it into a pedestrian-friendly area with a new road network. We have that finally approved. After 40 years of dreaming, it is approved, and it will become a reality. And that same approach, when applied across the city to a variety of real estate assets that the city owns, can truly transform the city, both in terms of the way it looks, the quality of the public realm in our city, but also the city's finances. As a member of the TTC, I now have a little bit of expertise in what's happening there. And it is a wonderful system, which does carry 500,000 people a day. But while Transit City is an admirable plan, it missed the boat in a very important way. How does an Etobicoke resident get to Mississauga? How does a North York resident get to Markham? Or a Scarborough resident to Durham? The Mayor of Toronto needs to be a champion for inter-regional transit, not just taking buses off our streets and replacing them with streetcars. So my belief is we need a new vision for public transit in the GTA. TTC can still be a local service operator, but Metrolinx, or another agency under some other name, needs to be the regional transit authority, coordinate, plan, build, and finance the public transit we really need. These are some of the initiatives that have the ability to not just transform the city of Toronto, but the GTA, and to help us seize our future. Now, it's my conviction that the status quo is no longer viable. You all know that. We have to begin to rethink, reinvest, and rebuild our infrastructure and the important facilities that we have that assist us in our way of life. And in doing that, we have to engage citizens so that the vision that comes forward is a shared vision, so that we can move Toronto forward together. So I thank you very much for joining me this evening. Thank you for your support, and join me in rising up to move Toronto forward together.